Okay, so a point is a single location. Yeah, if you already wrote the whole thing, you're good. Don't rewrite it. I'm just going to give it kind of abbreviated here from what we just did on our full vocabulary. So a point is a single location. A line is a points in a straight row. Okay, a plane is points making a flat surface. Okay, collinear means points on the same line. And then coplanar means points on the same plane or flat surface. Okay, so same stuff we just got through talking about. So how do you name a point? Okay, there's really one way to name a point, and you use one point to do that. So, like for instance, on this, we would call this point A, or we would call it point A like that. Either of those would be good. But all you're going to do when you're naming a point is just using the one point, which I know that's seems very trivial, but it makes sense for what we do after this. Okay, so how do you name a line? Okay, for naming a line, there's two ways to name a line. Number one is to use 2 points, and actually 2 points only. And the other way is if there is a lowercase cursive letter. So this line, definitely 2 ways to name it. Well, actually there's more, but kind of 2 that are really unique. So PQ is one way to name this line. I'm choosing out 2 points on that line, which there's only 2 points here, so that's pretty easy. But which, by the way, you could also call it QP. Either of those is fine. On the line, the order of the letters doesn't matter. So that's one way to name it. The other is to name it using the lowercase cursive letter, which in this case is that lowercase cursive M. So notice M is not a point on this line, okay? A lot of people make that mistake. It's a very common mistake to want to say M is a point. It is not a point. There's 2 ways to know it's not a point. Number one, generally there's always going to be a dot there, okay? Like this. And the other way to know is if it's lowercase, it's not a point, okay? So this M is not a point. They're just saying, okay, just call this line, just call it line M. So that's the other way to do that. That won't always be there, but sometimes it will. So there's our 2 ways to name it, okay? With 2 letters and with the cursive, lowercase cursive letter. Okay, next, how do you name a plane? There's 2 different ways to name a plane. Number one is to use 3 points, and actually we need to say this, 3 non-collinear points only. And the second way to name a plane is if there is an uppercase cursive letter. Whoops. Okay. So on this one, and the symbol we use for plane, okay, let me just write it right here. There's a symbol we use for plane. It looks like a lowercase little cursive, a lowercase parallelogram. That's the symbol we use for a plane, okay? So we could call this plane BCD, okay, because we're just taking these 3 points that are on there, which, by the way, the order of this doesn't matter either. You could call this plane CBD. That'd be good. And the other way is if there's an uppercase cursive letter, which there is in this case, that uppercase cursive K. So this could be called plane K. Sorry, that's pretty trash. Okay, so we're naming it that way, and naming it that way. Okay, so in this little picture right here, we're going to determine whether each of these is a point, line, or a plane name, okay? So the S up there in this picture, okay, the S over here. Is the S over here, is it a point, line, or plane name? Is that S, is it a point, line, or plane? Yeah, the S is simply a point. Okay? You can see it's an uppercase, and it's just like a print letter, basically, and you can see it's associated right there with that dot, so S is actually a point. Okay? What about the P? Is the P a point, line, or plane? Okay, P is a point also. Yep. Okay, what about the M? So what is this M going to be talking about? Yeah, this M is talking about the whole plane. It's talking about this whole flat surface right here. And the way, again, you know is it's an uppercase cursive letter, okay? So that M is talking about the name of that plane. Okay, this is an L. I know I tried to find a different font for that real quick and I couldn't, but which means I didn't try very hard. But anyways, this L right here, this is an L. So over here, what is the L talking about? Yes, it's this lowercase cursive L. It's saying this line right here is just line L, okay? So that's a line. Okay, what about the N? Is for a line. What about the Q? The Q is a point. The R is a point. And then the T is a point. Okay, over here. What point is collinear? And remember, go back to the front. What does collinear mean? On the same line. So what point is on the same line with P and Q? Good. P and Q. So here's P, here's Q. The one that is collinear is point U because it's on that same line. So point U. Okay, what points are collinear with T and W? Good. Here's T, here's W, so it's talking about this line. So on this line, U and V, yes, y'all are right, are the ones that are on there. U and V. Okay, what point is collinear with R and S? R and S, that's this line. V is the one that's on the line with those. Now, this says what points are non-collinear. So that just means that are not on the same line with P and Q. Okay, let's list them all. So points that are not on the same line with P and Q. T, R, V, S, and W, right? So point T, point R, point V, point S, and point W. Okay, which points are non-collinear with points T and V? Which ones are not on the same line with T and V? P, Q, R, and S. Yes. P, Q, R, and S are not on that same line with T and V. So point P, point Q, point R, and point S. All right, next one. Coplanar. So go back and look at what does coplanar mean. Okay, on the same plane or on the same flat surface. Okay, so name a point that is coplanar to A, E, and H. So here is A, here is E, and here is H. So that's talking about this plane right here. So actually there's two. Okay, J is one and D is another one. Coplanar means on the same flat surface. So on A, that one with A and H, those two are. Okay, next one, what's on the same plane with D, H, and G? Okay, good. D, H, and G, C is on that same plane. Good. And then which point, or name a point that is non-coplanar to A, B, and C. So here's A, B, C, so that's talking about this down here. So there's actually several. Which ones are non-coplanar to those points? E, J, H, F, G. Okay, so E, J, H, F, and G. All right, and that is what we're going to do.